What? 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 Let's get into this here. Welcome everybody to Unexpected Wrestling, where you can expect the unexpected. Sorry that we missed last week. We were having some technical difficulties, but we are back this week with some more wrestling content. And Mr. Chunk is here with me. How are you doing, Mr. Chunk? What? Is the show over already? Is the show over? All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Hopefully everybody has a good Sunday. Mr. Chunk felt like getting some dancing in. I guess he's in a really good mood today.
Excellent mood. You know.
So we had Hippo in the house. Thanks for coming in, Hippo in the house. Just got home and sat down and relaxed. Nice. Well, hopefully you're up for some wrestling content. We just came online to start the stream here. It's been a big week in wrestling. We had the return of one of the best wrestlers ever. R-Truth was on SmackDown this week, so return of one of the best wrestlers ever, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. R-Truth himself is back on SmackDown. Let's get right into some of the wrestling news here that we have. One of the first wrestling headlines that popped out to me this week was WWE women's wrestler Carmella apparently did not get a new contract. Now, she's been injured for quite a while, over a year, I think. And apparently WWE has not renewed her contract, which is surprising to me because I always thought she had something to offer, even if it wasn't in a wrestling role. She was kind of like an on-air character that they could use. So it's surprising to me that they wouldn't renew her contract, even if she, for whatever reason, can't wrestle anymore. I know that she had a baby, and I also heard that she had some like injuries that may prevent her from ever being in the ring again. But I'm surprised they couldn't find like a backstage role for her or anything.
Especially with Corey Graves being employed, right?
Yes, Corey
And
Graves.
I have a speculation that his unhappiness from the last few weeks and his rants on social media may have some relationship to her contract not being renewed. Maybe that was advance notice.
It could be. I mean, it could definitely add to his frustration with his job, maybe. So I'm going to have to source NoDQ.com here. But Carmella and WWE announcer Corey Graves did not... Wait, hold on. Okay. So, this week, Fightful.com reported that Carmella's contract with WWE recently expired. At this time, Carmella is technically no longer with the company, and it's unknown if she will be signing a new deal if she becomes medically cleared. So, I guess they're assuming that she's not medically cleared right now? Maybe. I always thought it was because she's been out for quite a long time. I always thought that maybe she was cleared, but they just didn't have any room for her at the moment. But maybe she's actually not. That's odd.
Yeah, and maybe they just couldn't find a way to bring back James Ellsworth.
Yeah, those two are always a pretty good duo, right? To be completely honest with you, this is just my opinion. I wouldn't hold too much faith in these reports, because if WWE was usually when they formally let a wrestler go, as in released or no longer doing business with them, they would usually make a formal announcement.
Like they did with Sonya Deville.
Yeah.
They didn't release her, they let her contract expire, but there was an announcement about it.
Yeah, that's usually what would happen. So I would assume that maybe currently they might not have offered her a new contract, but maybe it's an Alexa Bliss situation where they're in negotiations, just technically aren't signed on the dotted line right now. So maybe in the future we'll find out some more information about all of that. Something else that happened, which doesn't surprise me too much, and we have a little bit of a video that we'll play for this. But those good old Hardy boys, the Hardy men, the Hardy grandpas are they are coming back under the WWE umbrella, at least for one match. They are going to be doing a tag match in NXT. Matt and Jeff Hardy. Yes, they still do wrestle. I'm not sure how I feel about this, because I felt that both of the Hardy boys kind of burned their bridges with WWE, and they've been given so many chances and so many opportunities, and it seems like they do well for a while, and then they kind of, when things don't go their way, all of a sudden they act up and they want to leave. They fall off the wagon. They get themselves in trouble. WWE
Well,
is
if they're only doing one match, I mean,
as far as we know, it's one match on NXT, and here we'll get it right into it, and we will do a screen share. I will show the little promo video they did for the match here. Let's go live with that. There we go. And let me pop this up real quick. How did I mess that up? I had everything all set, and somehow I still messed it all up. Excuse me! Oh, Vicky, I didn't know you were here. Thank you for showing up today.
He's always here in spirit.
All right, let's play this video right here. Here is the Hardy Boys looking as Hardy Boys as ever right now.
I did not expect to tune into NXT programming tonight and hear our names called out on it, much less challenged to a match. But I got to tell you, no quarter catch crew, I'm very flattered that you had the Hardys on your mind tonight. Should we accept that challenge, Jeff?
Of course we should accept that challenge. We're the
Notice all the figures in the background. I'd love to have a collection like
that. It's 2025. We're still
I wonder where they're filming out of.
We're still influencing.
Gotta be like
inspiring.
Jeff Hardy's
We're
house
still
or Matt
modifying
Hardy's
the
house.
craft of pro wrestling. How's
They
that
must
for
have
an
saved
axiom?
every figure that ever got
Fraxium.
made for them.
Fraxium, why don't you pull up a front row seat and watch us beat the no quarter catch crew? After a plot twist, a twist of fate, a swanton, you'll realize, well, we are the greatest tag team in all of space and time. The best, the GOATs.
And people always wonder, what's next? What's next? Maybe it's a Hardy party at NXT.
Well, I mean, them cutting a promo, they looked good, but we will see how they are in the ring. I'm not holding my breath on that with their performance in AEW. Maybe I'm biased, but I did not think they had a great run in AEW.
Nope, I agree with you there.
And honestly, like, the Hardys, for me, it's like, you got to leave the memories alone. They were a great tag team 10 years ago, 15, 20 years
They're
ago.
doing the cheap pop. They want the cheap pop and a little bit of nostalgia, some member berries.
And to be completely honest with you, I worry about especially Jeff Hardy, because he still tries to do the stuff he was doing when he was in his
20 plus
late
years
20s,
ago.
early 30s. And obviously that is catching up to him. And in my opinion, he should really slow down, but it doesn't look like they plan on doing that anytime soon. So that's something we can look forward to. I believe that's actually going to be happening this Tuesday. Hardy Boys will be on NXT in a tag match. And speaking
you don't
of
think
NXT,
they'll bring back the delete gimmick, right? Are they in the classic Hardy gimmick?
We'll have to see. We'll have to see. I don't think they're doing the deletion stuff right now, but you never know. You never know. But sticking with the NXT topic, Mr. Chunk, there was a debut that came on NXT recently, I think last week, and this week it became official. Would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So Ricky Starks, or now Ricky Sinks, is officially part of the NXT roster shortly after getting away from AEW.
Yeah, I think it was less than a week.
At
least of when it was announced. At least when it was announced.
And for those of you who forgot he existed, well, there you go, right? So he
Missy
was basically
Girl, oh, thank you so much for that gift on TikTok. We really appreciate it. I think that's the first gift that we've gotten on TikTok. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you for that. All right, continue, Mr. Chunk. I just didn't want to
anyway.
leave our TikTok audience out.
No problem. So for those of you who forgot about him, it looks like AEW did as well. And he's got to look out for his own best interests. And I think WWE might have something with him in NXT, and hopefully they are able to package his character differently, present him differently, put him on TV more often.
Yep.
I think that was a challenge with AEW. He did not get a lot of TV time. And with AEW losing one of their Friday night staple shows, that's even less TV time for their already crowded roster, in my opinion. WWE has, 3 primarily televised shows with several other streaming shows that they do that they don't televise on normal television.
Yep.
So there's a plenty of outlets for Ricky Starks or Ricky Saints to make a name for himself in WWE. I just really hope they package him well. I think in AEW he lacked character depth. I don't know if that was on him. I don't know if that was AEW didn't know how to market him in certain matches and in certain storylines. So time will tell. I think sky's the limit for him potentially. But I think WWE and him both have work to do to make him stand out. Even in WWE, the roster's a little crowded too, so he's got some work to do to stand out. So I do wish him the best. It'd be interesting to see if they could do better than what AEW did with him.
Yeah, so the issue that happened with him in AEW, so Ricky Stark was always kind of, he was a hit or miss on the AEW roster, because, a lot of times because he didn't get airtime. So when CM Punk got the Collision show, when Tony Khan dedicated pretty much a CM Punk show, Collision, made the show center around CM Punk, one of CM Punk's pet projects was Ricky Starks, if you remember. Like, Ricky Starks pretty much was the main heel on that show. And when Punk got fired, Punk was like embraced in a feud with Ricky Starks at that time. Ricky Starks just won the Owen Hart Cup. He disrespected Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and CM Punk was intertwined with that. And then all of a sudden, poof, CM Punk got fired. And what I believe ended up happening with Ricky Starks was Tony Khan got a boo-boo face on him, because he is, not only is he CM Punk's friend, he's also Cody Rhodes' friend. And Ricky Starks was caught on video a few times, like at the Royal Rumble, at WrestleMania 40. Not a WWE video, but like fan footage that was posted on the internet. And I guess Tony Khan kind of takes offense to that. And then what really did him in, and I'm sure a lot of people already know what I'm about to say, is the whole confrontation he had with Edge on an episode of Collision, where Edge kind of steamrolled him, called him a vanilla midget, and basically Edge went off a script because he felt like he was being disrespected by Ricky Starks. And then I think Ricky actually said in an interview recently that he feels that a veteran on the AEW roster was kind of pulling some strings to keep him kind of off TV. And with veteran, I'm assuming he might be alluding to Edge. So
it's possible. Now, do you think that he still has positive relationship with Cody Rhodes and CM Punk now that they're both in WWE?
I know that him and Cody Rhodes are good friends, and I think CM Punk saw him as a prospect, and the best place for him.
You think he continues to see him as a prospect?
If Ricky starts as an NXT, CM Punk works very close with NXT. So I see Ricky Starks being a main event talent in NXT. When he comes to the main roster, I don't know. We might have to have a year of him in NXT before they start.
Well, I think that's a good move, because they experimented with Jade Cargill and accelerated the process, and that did not turn out as positive as we would like. So I think WWE is smart to hedge their bets, and even if that superstar has prior experience, they benefit from being in NXT just at least a little bit.
Yeah, I think some fans get the impression that when a wrestler goes to NXT, it's kind of a demotion, especially when they're coming from AEW. I don't really see that. I see
It's
that
a different
as
process.
yeah, I
It's
see
just,
it as they're putting them somewhere where they can be a focal point on TV. You can't throw everybody on Raw and immediately make them a focal point because there's so much going on there. There's so many egos. Like somebody like Seth Rollins isn't going to step aside so they could push Ricky Starks to take.
It takes a lot of pre-planning. Keep in mind, this is sports entertainment.
Yeah.
Don't confuse this with football. I know football and baseball, they have trades. And then a week after the trade, you're seeing that person all of a sudden make an impact on the main roster team. This is not the same equivalent of that. You can't just plop somebody in place and hope everything is just going to mesh. It doesn't happen as naturally.
You never know what's going to happen. Like, let's say somehow Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns got injured, and all of a sudden they need some more main event level talent coming over to Raw. They need some new people on the fresh meat on the screen. Then you'll see somebody like, I mean, that's kind of like how Braun Breaker came up. Like, when the opportunity comes, they will hand it to them.
Who do you think is the best AEW transplant, native AEW transplant to WWE so far? Because I have a pick.
I mean, 100% honesty, I'd have to say Cody Rhodes, but I wouldn't say he was
I'm native.
AEW
I don't.
official.
Yeah, I mean native. I don't count Cody Rhodes because he was in WWE first and then came back. CM Punk would be excluded from this.
Yeah, like somebody that basically made their name in AEW, I'd have to say Jade Cargill then.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm high on Ethan Page.
She's been a champion. Well,
That's
Ethan,
true.
my whole thing with Ethan Page is he hasn't come to the main roster.
The main roster. True.
Yeah. I mean, he has had success. He's been NXT champion. But he hasn't been to the main roster. So Jade Cargill, she's had a WrestleMania match, had her moment, multiple time women's tag team champion. I'm assuming she's going to have not a main event match, but a match at WrestleMania this year again. They seem to be pushing that storyline more and more every week. I think we're going to see some sort of climax soon.
Yeah.
I would say Jade Cargill so far, but we'll see. There's a potentially a lot of AEW people could be potentially coming to WWE soon. We have Penta now. We'll see where he goes.
Rumors on Malachi Black.
Yeah,
Miro
coming back.
just got
Miro
released.
Might be coming back.
Yeah,
those two are people that could definitely find something to do with on the WWE roster somewhere.
I'm really behind Ethan Page character. They really packaged him really well.
Yeah,
on NXT.
He was always, even when he was in AEW, you could see that he was a sports entertainer. There's when like I can look at a wrestler and I could be like, okay, this guy is a wrestler, and then I could look at a wrestler and be like, okay, this guy is a sports entertainer.
Right.
There is a
and
difference.
Sometimes you get the total package, and
yes.
that's very rare to get both.
Yes. Kurt Angle would be like a total package. He's somebody that was a wrestler and also could entertain. And Chris Benoit, not that we mention his name often, he was somebody that was a wrestler, but the entertainment wasn't always there with him. But he was a great wrestler, and there's there's spaces for people like that. Yes. Somebody like Daniel Bryan at first was just a great wrestler, but then he also had a personality over his career in WWE.
It took a while to establish it.
Yeah, he established it somehow, but eventually he did get a personality.
Yeah.
But with that being said, let's move on into the Raw recap. We had some things going on Raw here. My first take from Raw, the Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens storyline kind of had a switch from where I thought it was going. I thought this is going to lead to a WrestleMania thing. It looks like it's actually leading to an elimination thing in Toronto. These guys love to wrestle in their hometown. Because it always seems like they have to do something special in their hometown. So my note on that was the Elimination Chamber in Toronto sounds good on paper, but will it end the rivalry?
I don't think so.
Me either.
I think, and bold prediction, I think that there's going to be some involvement from Randy Orton. I think maybe he makes an appearance. I can't tell if he's off of TV for medical reasons, or
Yeah.
you know, they gave him a break because he's obviously, you know, in the twilight of his career and he wants, you
Hmm.
know, not to be a full-time performer. But if he's ready to come back, I think, and not that the storyline needs to have new life injected,
Hmm.
but I think it adds an interesting twist to it.
Do you see it
Um,
like being a triple threat? Because
it's
my whole
tough to
thing, like, if they move
say.
into a Randy Orton, Kevin Owens one-on-one, then what are they doing with Sami Zayn?
Yeah, I mean,
Is there
I
something
could
going
see
on
it
with
as
him and Karrion Cross? Like, because I don't see them leaving Sami Zayn off the card.
no, no. I agree, and
Yeah.
that has been interesting that Karrion Cross has been involved tangentially with Sami Zayn. So I
Yeah.
think that there's more to tell there, but I do
Definitely.
think that there needs to be a little bit of twist to this because even though I feel like Kevin Owens has been doing some of his best work in a while,
Missy
I don't
Kaboom, thank you so much for that subscription. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And thank you for
I,
stopping into the stream.
I don't think with Kevin Owens you can spend 9 months dragging out who is he going to package pile drive next and
Yeah.
piss them off and have a feud. Like it's great that there's animosity here, but that you can only repeat that formula so many times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So my next take from Raw was the Raquel Rodriguez, Roxanne Perez. Thought they had a good match. We did see some shenanigans going on, but Roxanne did pick up the win. And I said that it looks like Roxanne Perez may be getting the Tiffany Stratton treatment this year. And what I mean by that is Tiffany Stratton came on board the main roster a little bit before WrestleMania. And I think her first pay per view on the main roster was Elimination Chamber. That seems to be almost exactly what's happening to Roxanne Perez here. Um, Unfortunately, I do not see her winning the Elimination Chamber, but you don't always have to win a match to make be made to look good in a match.
Yeah, to make an impact. Oh, I
Yeah,
agree. And I
yeah,
think they're in dire need of long-term top tier women's talent, right?
yeah.
They have Charlotte, but she's in the twilight of her career. She's doing good work, but we're not going to get 5 more years full time out of
Not
her.
full time, no.
What about
Definitely
Becky Lynch? Completely unclear, right?
not. Yeah,
You know, even Bailey. You know, I mean, she probably doesn't have 7 more years full time left that she's going to do. So you have to build a new core of the top tier women's talent, and you got to build it around Tiffany Stratton, and you have to build it around Roxanne Perez. I think they're going to be your cornerstones for the next 5 years at least,
absolutely.
uh, for the women's division.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see her performance in the Elimination Chamber. She's short, like she is kind
But
of
that's
tiny.
okay.
Yeah.
She's tiny, but I think that they package her character really well.
Hmm.
That I can believe that she is a force to be reckoned with in the ring, regardless of her height.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Compare that to Candice LeRae.
Yep.
Candice LeRae, I'm afraid to like accidentally kick her 30 feet. They don't package her well, right?
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to see a pixie soccer mom. That's what she
Poison Pixie.
reminds me of.
Poison Pixie.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah. No, but
Excuse me.
Roxanne
Yeah.
Perez, yeah, Roxanne Perez has a threatening look to her,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, she'll
And that's what they
definitely.
need to do.
I think she'll fit right in on the main roster. I want her to go to SmackDown though, because SmackDown needs the talent.
Yeah,
They
I
need more
agree.
women's talent on SmackDown. The last note that I have, I wrote solid match between Finn Balor and Seth Rollins, but I feel it was a predictable ending. And then I said, where
Yes.
does Finn go moving forward? He seems kind of lost in the shuffle right now.
Extra
I
loss
think,
without JD McDonough. I think
yeah,
that maybe that foiled some plans when
yeah,
JD McDonough got injured. I had a feeling that maybe they were trying to build JD McDonough and Finn Balor for maybe some tag team championship,
yeah.
or at least you know be involved in that picture for the foreseeable future. And now it looks like they can't. And
I think
Finn's a good worker.
yeah, I think they
But
need to move him away from the Judgment Day at this point.
yes, they need to make that split sooner rather than later, and I think they need to find a storyline for him to bring back the demon character. And I cannot
Yeah,
believe I'm
it's
going to
been
say
years
this.
since we've seen it.
one of the best ways to possibly do that might be something with the Wyatt Six.
Oh God.
To bring that out.
Oh God.
You need something to.
Dude.
Just.
God. I don't know.
It could work. It could
maybe,
work. It could work.
maybe.
It could work.
Jesus Christ, dude. If
They're
you say
already
if you say
hinting
it
at a
three, it's like
return.
Beetlejuice. If you say their name 3 times, they appear on SmackDown, dude.
Well, if you've been paying attention to the vignettes in the last 2
Are they
weeks,
coming back?
they're hinting at something, and the
Obviously,
rumor
Alexa
that I'm
Bliss
hearing,
seems to be involved.
yes, and the rumor I'm hearing is maybe resurrection of the Fiend character rather than Uncle Howdy.
We'll see. We'll see what Bo Dallas looks like in the Fiend getup. I would assume that's who they would have do it.
I think, and I know we're jumping the gun to SmackDown a little bit, but I think that the Wyatt stuff packaged properly could be effective if they reduced the number of people involved.
I'll be honest, when you said I don't want to jump to SmackDown real quick, I thought you were going to say the Wyatt Six getting involved with The Rock. I was about to shut the stream off. I was about to turn everything off.
Don't plant those ideas in my head. Don't plant those ideas in my head.
Oh my God. If you want to ruin the opportunity with The Rock, put it with the Wyatt Six.
No, I think look, they did the experiment with some of these lesser known superstars, and I think if you just make the Wyatt experience be Bo Dallas and Alexa Bliss are basically running rampant through SmackDown, I think there's a better story to be told than the rest of those other characters.
Yeah. I agree.
But anyway, back to Raw.
So what those are my 3 takes. Do you have anything to add to your takes for what was going on Raw?
Yeah, a little bit.
I know what we did have a Penta.
Yes, I was going to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, who was it? It was Pete Dunne, right?
Yes,
Pete
but
Dunne,
then Ludwig Kaiser is kind of weaseling his way into that a little bit.
Yeah, it seems to be like a little 3-way menage a trois going on with them.
Yes, and that's what it sounds like is going to be potentially at WrestleMania, right? I don't believe they're on the card for Elimination Chamber.
I'd be interested to see that.
And I know, the wrestling community is like, no, Penta's too early for WrestleMania. WrestleMania is 2 nights. It doesn't need to be a main event match. Yeah, Penta recently just debuted.
They have a lot of wiggle room. They could fit a lot of stuff on those shows.
And we're not talking about a 30-minute banger match with Penta here.
Especially like Triple H, he's less about the pomp and circumstance. Like, they don't have the musical performances. They don't have the people coming out and announcing. Well, no, they did last year. They did have somebody come out and announce the attendance. They had
there's a little bit of pomp and circumstance, but notice in this new era of with Triple H leading the charge, there's less downtime between matches at PLEs, right? They're not running 25 minutes of promos, their own commercials all the time. It's under 5 minutes, right? Just to give enough time to prep the ring if there was any shenanigans and get the next match ready, right?
Yep.
It's under 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I like that direction.
Yeah, so I could see that as a potential match, or maybe throw the Intercontinental Championship in there somehow. Have Braun Breaker.
Yeah.
But who knows?
The only other 2 points, one real quick, and it's just I notice weird things on SmackDown and Raw, and I notice things that look like other things. So Dakota's Kai finisher, it's basically the GTS. It's a go to sleep.
Did they change it?
The GDK.
Yeah.
They called the GDK. GTK. What's hard to say?
Go to knee.
I guess Kai. I don't know. Knee.
Okay,
I don't know what the K stands for.
So
I don't
was
know,
it like I didn't actually
they
see.
refer to it on television as GTK,
Okay. I'll have to pay attention because I never noticed.
and it looks extremely similar.
I always notice that little flip around back cracker that she does,
and she does that as like her
I always thought that
signature
should be her
move, but
finisher.
not the finisher.
Yeah, I
Oh,
always
agree
thought
with
that
you.
should be the finisher. That's an outstanding move.
And maybe this is something we'll have to.
Honestly, I was surprised to see her back because remember they said she was injured again. And I was like, oh God, here we go. But she's back pretty soon.
And maybe we could take a more in-depth look at this on a future episode about people borrowing other people's finishers. But is the GTS an original move by CM Punk?
No. The GTS, I forget what it's called. It was actually created. It's a Japanese wrestler He used to
Okay.
actually be on NXT. I forget his name. There's actually some heat between him and CM Punk about him using that move.
Okay.
I would say CM Punk brought it to popularity, but there is somebody else that originally was using that move.
Okay.
But most people
So maybe
know it from
that's so
CM.
unheard of. CM Punk shouldn't be that annoyed. Not saying he is.
No, in WWE
He doesn't
especially.
own that move.
Yeah, in
Right?
WWE especially, I know that at least in the past, and I'm sure it's still like that today because of Triple H. When even if it's like a legend, like let's say Kevin Owens taking the stunner, they usually will get the blessing of whatever superstar takes ownership of that move. Like Stone Cold probably got a phone call from Kevin Owens and was asked if Kevin could be so pleased to use his finisher. And I know that even like I remember a story back in the day. Trish Stratus told a story about how she called Ric Flair because she wanted to add chops to her moveset.
Yeah.
Just doing the
Yeah.
chops like in a corner, and she felt that that was kind of Ric Flair's thing, and she actually called Ric Flair and got his permission to do that. And now that seems to be something Charlotte does, so maybe that's like a Charlotte thing now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
and
yeah,
then-
usually there is like a protocol to get the blessing of even like something like the spear. Like you
Yeah.
want to, like I don't know how WWE, like I'm sure they're not like, oh, you got to call Goldberg. They're probably more like, oh, you got to call Edge or something like that.
Oh, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah,
Of
there's
who owns
I
the
mean, so many
OG
people,
Spear
so many people
is Edge
have-
or Goldberg.
so many people have used a spear. When I think of spear, like if I think of OG spear, I always go to Goldberg just because like
Yes.
as a teenager, the first like it wasn't the first time that I saw a spear, but the first time that it was called a spear and used as a finishing move that would end the match, I always think of Goldberg.
The only reason I put Edge in that is the ladder tag team match, and he
Yeah.
and he basically spears off the top of the ladder.
Yeah.
And-
And
and-
Edge was
and that
doing the
made me
spear a
give
lot
Ed the
before
credit.
then, but his was
True.
always a little different. Like Goldberg, it looked like he was literally ripping somebody in half. Where
Yes.
Edge's, like for the longest time, his spear wasn't even his finishing move. It was
Right.
just like a move that he did, and he like flung his hair back, and that was the whole thing. And later on, it became his finishing move. But yeah, now you got Braun Breaker doing it. Like it's a thing. It's one of the more overplayed moves in wrestling these days.
That's true.
Yeah.
And the last note I had, speaking of Braun Breaker,
Mm-hmm.
is AJ Styles being back.
Yep.
And it sounds like they're on a collision course.
That
and I
would
like
be a
where
good
that's-
match. That would be a good
I
match.
like where that's headed. I
Yeah.
think Braun Breaker's getting to the point where he needs some good victories over established talent that can take the loss.
Yeah.
And AJ Styles strikes me as somebody who's in the twilight of his career.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's not. He may say on television he wants a title shot or he wants an IC title, US title, whatever it might be. But we kind of all know, the more intelligent wrestling community will know that he's probably not going to really win any more real championships. And that's okay. That doesn't hurt my feelings, right? AJ Styles is at the point of giving back. And I expect, he's still got talent. He could still bring it in the ring. And I think that's going to be a really great match. And I think that puts Braun Breaker
Is it
on a
WrestleMania
pedestal.
worthy, would you say? AJ and
Um,
Braun Breaker. And
I-
by the
I
way,
think-
Mr. Glass is saying Goldberg, the goat spear, all others fail. Goldberg. I think he's doing the Goldberg chant in the Goldberg. Oh yeah, Gil.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Gilbert.
How's Dwayne Gill doing, Mr. Glass? Mr. Glass, I think I might know who you are, Mr. Glass. There's only one
Okay.
Goldberg fangirl that I know in my life, and I think that might be him.
Okay.
Yeah, so Braun Breaker,
Anyway,
AJ Styles. You think that'll be
WrestleMania
a
worthy?
WrestleMania match? Yeah.
In terms of in-ring ability and in terms of the wrestling side of it, yes.
Kind of a mismatch
think
of
that-
styles a little bit.
Yeah,
No
I
pun
think that they
intended.
need to work on the build of that match. Like, it's going to be a great wrestling contest, but storyline wise, I think that there isn't much build yet, and WWE has some work to do.
Yeah.
Now, it's not too late. I think that after Elimination Chamber is when everything's going to heat up. And it doesn't need a terrible amount of build, but it needs some juice to it.
I think that
Like a
they'll
little
actually cut
juice.
some pretty good promos on each other. Braun Breaker's pretty good with the promos. He's got a little bit of that Scott Steiner.
Yeah.
And AJ can cut a good promo too. I think it'll be a good match, a good lead up.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Mr. Glass says, "Hi Ed." Mr. Glass, he might be somebody from your past. Maybe
boy.
let's just I'm trying to think of a name I could say that would make you know who this is. Let's
I'm
just
trying to see
say
a picture
let's
of
just
the
say
icon.
Joe's
It's very hard
Joe's
to read.
Joe's neighbor. Let's just say that. How about that?
Oh, okay.
Joe's neighbor,
Okay.
Grams, sleepovers, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Glass, thanks for stopping in. Let's move on to some more wrestling headlines here. Here's some pretty stupid headlines. First one I'm going to get into, Shane McMahon. If you guys remember a couple months ago, don't be doxing people's names in chat. Fucking Mr. Glass, calm yourself down. We don't want him getting any phone calls or nothing.
I don't know who this guy is though. Who's Ed? I have no idea
Oh
who
yeah,
that is.
yeah.
If only we knew.
Yeah, it's Mr. Chunk. Okay, all right. So Shane McMahon. If you guys remember a couple months ago, there was a picture floating around of him having a meeting with Tony Khan, and Tony Khan looking like an idiot, like trying to hide his face or whatever. But it was a legit picture, and people were like wondering what was happening with that. What was happening with that? Well, it seems like we got a couple details of what may be happening with that, and apparently they had some sort of meeting. Apparently, it might have even been at the request of Shane McMahon about possibly doing business together. But there was a catch-22 with that, where Shane McMahon, in order to do business, wanted equity in AEW. And he also wanted like control of his character and things like that. And long story short, according to sources, Tony Khan kind of ghosted him after that. Tony Khan was not willing to give up any equity in the company and wasn't interested in working with Shane McMahon if he wanted control over the television product.
Not surprised there. I mean,
Yeah.
judging from Tony Khan's past and the family money that's involved, I think two things. He sees this as his company and his company alone, unwilling to compromise. I'm not saying Shane McMahon's the best fit for AEW. That's a whole different problem, but he's unwilling to compromise, and I do think that he lives in the shadow of the family, right? They own sports teams, and they own other businesses, very successful businesses, and I think he's looking to prove himself, and those types of people, they want to prove themselves on their own, right? They don't want to prove themselves with, other people around them that are taking the spotlight or having a share of the spotlight, right?
Absolutely. So the thing with Tony Khan, and some people kind of ignore this, it's kind of a quirk in his personality. AEW, and I'm not trying to offend anybody or get anybody angry, AEW is like a vanity project for him. He's not like, I'm sure he would love it if AEW was like massively successful and really competing with WWE and blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't bother him that AEW is like not performing as like people would like it to. This is a vanity project for him. He likes pro wrestling. He's a pro wrestling fan. He likes that he's involved in the business. He likes that he's the Vince McMahon in his own little world, controlling a company. Yep. And whether it's successful or not is irrelevant to him, because this is like the little rich kid that had all the wrestling action figures and got to play with them the way that he wanted to.
And he had experiments running pieces of his family's company, and they all kicked him out.
Yeah, he kind of was
that he
like,
can't really run a business.
Yeah,
he can partially do it.
Nick
but
Spoon, thanks for stopping in.
He can't make it successful to the level that WWE is, right?
No.
Maybe someday, who knows, 20 years from now, whatever.
He'd have to change a lot of problems that are going on in AEW if he wants to actually compete with WWE.
But his parents basically just gave him the money, shoved him off into this little corner of the world so he doesn't accidentally screw up the more successful family businesses, and they're willing to throw money at him to just keep him away from everything else.
This is just something he's doing. The problem is, like, if Tony Khan would have like accepted Shane McMahon's offer, the problem I would see with that is, like, if Tony Khan isn't running AEW, he would get bored of it. And he wouldn't see the purpose in continuing to financially support it because it's not financially successful and he's not having fun controlling it anymore. And that's the problem that people don't realize. Like, the second he's not having fun with AEW anymore, AEW is going to go away because it's not able to stand on its own 2 feet. Regardless of what wrestling journalists try to tell you, regardless of how they try to hide all the negatives and only boost the positives, if AEW was not getting financially supported by the Khan family, it would not be in business right now, regardless of TV deals or anything.
In today's society, it takes a village, and I mean this literally. I know it's a cliche. It takes a village to run a behemoth wrestling organization like WWE. Just because Triple H may be the face of the organization, do you think he sits there in his office all day writing storylines? No. He hires crews of people that he trusts to do that. Might he have final say in some decisions? I'm sure he does.
Yep.
But this is not the 1970s, the old Vince McMahon era, where he was writing all the storylines. The world was smaller then, right? Mm-hmm. It's much bigger today. It takes a village to run this. Not just one Tony Khan saying, I'm going to go take charge. I'm going to write all the stories. It's my way. We've seen what that does, right? And those people are not in power anymore in wrestling.
Yeah, Tony, it's a vanity project for him. This is a hobby for him. And if you take that away from him, if you take the creative control, he doesn't want to be a wrestler. I'm sure he'd like to be an on-air character, but he hasn't been. But if you take away what he's finding fun, then he's going to stop supporting it. He's not going to keep putting money into something because it's not a successful business, regardless of what direction or angle you look at it. It's not successful. It's successful in a way that, yes, they acquired a new TV deal, which was a big thing for them. But they're spending more money than they're making, and that, in my head, says this is not a successful company. If they are in the red, that tells me that they're not successful. If they were $1 in the positive, I'd be like, okay, it's a successful business. Not the most successful, not like a super successful, but it's successful. They're still in the red. He's not made the money back. That he's putting more money in than he's making.
Yeah. And they could get there, but they have a lot of changes they would need to make in order to make themselves incredibly successful, or even get on that road towards being that successful.
Unfortunately, what Tony Khan sees as success is like acquiring talent. Like Sasha Banks, him acquiring Sasha Banks, he sees that as a huge success. He's like, I got one of the best female wrestlers in the world today on my roster. Are they doing anything special with
wasn't part? And has he wondered why she wasn't part of WWE? Yeah. Right?
I mean, does he wonder why WWE was Plan A for her, and when they wouldn't pay her what she felt she needed, she went to AEW as Plan B? Like,
right.
Like that,
and it's not for WWE not being able to afford to pay talent like Sasha. Yeah. WWE is very intelligent about knowing the real worth of their talent.
Yes. And unfortunately for Sasha, they worked with her before, so they know, okay, this is what the revenue we can expect. This is what merch sales we can expect. This isn't adding up.
Right.
Tony Khan hasn't. He'll spend a lot of money just to pull somebody from WWE. Like Edge is probably getting paid a lot more than he did in WWE if you compare it to working only one day a week. Same thing with Sasha. She's probably making more in the long term in AEW because they're only doing 1 day a week. WWE, she would have been doing like 3 days a week. And then there's a whole different pay structure in WWE. It's less work for more money.
I feel like he's trying to recreate the magic that WCW had at the height of the Monday Night Wars.
And he's going to have the same results as WCW eventually. Except I think he's got more funding than what WCW would have had.
Well, he doesn't have to report to anybody.
Yeah, WCW had a lot of funding, but they also weren't like...
They had shareholders.
They were willing to pull the plug if it wasn't successful.
He has only one person he has to worry about reporting to, right? and that's the TV execs that are going to either decide whether to have his TV show or not have his TV show.
I honestly
But
feel
that's-
like Tony Khan, if he lost the TV deal, he would be perfectly fine just running AEW on YouTube, and he would still claim, "Oh,
He probably-
we're the
yeah.
second largest in the world. We're beating WWE and metrics of we're 600-pound women in Nebraska watch
yeah,
more AEW
made up,
than
made up,
WWE."
made up metrics. to
Yeah,
make
they
it sound better.
find
Yeah.
some metric that they're doing better in WWE, and they'll find it
Of
somehow.
course, of course.
But
Of course.
yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he didn't want to work with Shane, even though it would have been beneficial because Shane has, oh God, probably at least 40 years experience in the wrestling business at this point. He
Yeah.
started like when he was a kid,
Yeah.
working with WWE and Vince. But you know, it is what it is. Staying on the topic of Tony Khan, though. Next report here is people within AEW are said to be frustrated with Tony Khan refusing to do production meetings. So, if you heard the rumors, apparently there are no production meetings in AEW, meaning they don't hold a meeting before television shows to kind of go over things. They just kind of wing it. And when we do the AEW recap, I have a little video that'll show you like that they probably don't have production meetings. But let me read a little bit from this article here. We'll summarize it. And this is coming from Brian.
What?
Oh God, Brian Alvarez. He says the bigger story here than this was just a disaster. Not 1 week goes by where I don't hear that somebody in AEW is saying, why the F don't we have production meetings? We need production meetings. Things happen on every show where if we had a production meeting, they wouldn't happen. But Tony Khan refuses to do production meetings, and here we are. This is another one. What the F happened here? Nobody knows. I didn't get a single good explanation for it. It was just everybody was on a different page, and you made the babyface look like an idiot. What he's referring to is a situation that happened on Dynamite. It was afterbirth of a Chris Statlander Megan Bayne match where Thunder Rosa came down to save Chris Statlander with a chair, and she kind of ran into the ring full steam ahead and then didn't do anything. She just kind of stood there with the chair, like. We're gonna go over it in the recap, but in my opinion, it looked like when she ran in with the chair, the two other ladies in the ring, I think it was Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne, they were supposed to kind of fizzle out, like roll under the bottom rope and be like, oh, and get away from her. But they didn't. They stayed in the ring. And then she just kind of like was there.
I wonder why. Because they didn't know what was going to happen and
Yeah.
when it was going to happen.
They just kind of, I have video of it. We'll go over that in the recap. But yeah, I mean, what Brian Alvarez is saying here is completely right. You have a production meeting, you would have had somebody. So the way WWE does it, they have production meetings, and then they also have I forget what they call them. They're almost like production assistants, and they'll be responsible for particular matches and segments. So they might be like, okay, Bruce Pritchard, you're going to handle this promo and this match.
Oh,
Jamie
you mean like
Noble.
how a TV show is run?
Yeah.
Wow.
Jamie Noble.
Is that difficult for
Yeah.
AEW?
And then pretty much what they do, they
Right.
get everybody involved in said segment. They're like, okay, here's what we're going to do, blah, 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 blah. Here's your cue. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. And then bing, bang, boom, we're done. There is none of that in AEW. They pretty much probably have like a whiteboard. It says what's going to happen in that day, who's on the show, whatever. And then they figure it out from there. And I think a lot of times they might actually be going out there cold turkey, just hoping that things get put together somehow. And obviously that doesn't seem to be the case, especially in AEW when you're working with so many people that have never been on the big stage and don't understand how television wrestling works. So, yeah, it's a big clusterfuck. Apparently a lot of people are upset about AEW not having production meetings. But I can guarantee you there's probably a lot of people in AEW that don't want production meetings, especially those that have never been on major television shows before, and they just want to do their indie wrestling bullshit. So it's probably a struggle, and ultimately it falls on Tony Khan's lap for not taking charge of his company. and doing things
Yeah.
the right way. And
He's being too much of a fanboy, running around it like a fanboy,
absolutely,
rather than an organization, a well-oiled machine.
absolutely. And that's what you get. That is definitely what you get. Yo, Izzy Jean, thank you so much for the 5 gifts on TikTok. We are having a lot of gifts on TikTok today. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And thank you for stopping in and checking us out. So Mr. Chong, Ryan Nemeth. Ryan Nemeth is in the news. And what do you
Yes.
have to say about Mr. Nemeth?
Let's
and
paint a
what's he-
picture real quick for
Yeah.
people maybe not familiar with who Ryan Nemeth is, right?
Mhm.
The brother, and I forget if he's older or young. I'm going to assume
Younger.
younger than
Younger.
Nick, right?
Yep.
So Nick Nemeth, right, aka Dolph Ziggler,
Yep.
right?
Me and
had
Mr.
his-
Chonk, we used to do the Ziggle Wiggle back in the day. We used to do the Ziggle Wiggle.
So Dolph Ziggler, that more known for his run WWE, right? Also part of a cheerleading squad, so
Yep,
to speak.
Spirit Squad.
With, Vince, under
Yep.
Vince McMahon's
And
tutelage.
here's a deep cut
way
for
back
you.
when.
Here's a deep cut for you. Before Eddie Guerrero passed away, Chavo Guerrero became Sherman White in WWE, and Dolph Ziggler was his golf caddy.
Oh God.
And that only lasted a couple weeks, and then when Eddie passed away, they threw that whole gimmick in the trash. But yeah.
Anyway,
okay.
so
Yeah.
Ryan Nemeth, part of AEW, right? But then you probably forgot that he was part of AEW for a little bit because he hasn't really been seen on TV in I don't know how long.
Yep.
And the reason for that is the premise for this lawsuit, or the supposed premise for this lawsuit. And the news broke through multiple outlets over the course of the last 24 hours or so. But basically, he wants to sue specifically Tony Khan and CM Punk on behalf of AEW, saying that he's benched, right, as a result of fallout from the situation from CM Punk and his departure from AEW, because he was
wait, he
tangentially
was-
embroiled with...
He was officially released.
No,
So
I don't think he's
still-
officially...
Is he still on contract and just not being used?
I think so. I don't know that with 100% certainty. But
I would assume if he's filed a lawsuit, he's not working there anymore.
all I know is that for a long time he was benched, right? This is
Yes.
popular, common activity in AEW when Tony Khan gets a stick up his ass and he doesn't like how something is going. Rather than addressing the issue, he just keeps paying talent minimum amount, right? Bare minimum standard. But they're not getting TV time, so they're not getting checks for being on TV. And then when you're not being on television, chances are your merch isn't being sold, especially if you're not as well known, right? Ryan Nemeth, probably not that big of a star, no offense to him, right? So you're not getting TV time, so you're not getting paid for that. And you're not getting merch, because if you're not getting promoted on television, and that's your number one way of getting known by the masses, then you're not getting residuals from merch either. So you're sitting at home barely making any money, just for basically Tony Khan to be pissed off and say, well, we're going to bench you for the remainder of your contract, and so be it. And what Ryan Nemeth is basically trying to sue is that he thinks he's been benched and his career has been damaged as a result of the fallout from the CM Punk relationship with AEW from a couple of years ago. And that CM Punk had certain people he didn't exactly get along with in AEW beyond the ones that we already knew that were embroiled in the original controversy with Jack Perry and what's their name? The Young Bucks, right?
Yep.
So those were the original people at front and center, right? Besides CM Punk and Tony Khan. But there were some other people that Ryan Nemeth is claiming that CM Punk wasn't high on their list, and that CM Punk had influence to get them people not on television as much. And Ryan Nemeth feels that he was one of those people to get benched as a result.
Yep.
And then CM Punk left on no certain terms. And I guess rather than Tony Khan attempting to mend fences with all of the maybe tangentially affected talent and reestablish a good working relationship and get them back on television, they just were left to be wasted, sitting at home, not getting exposure. So I know a long-winded story there, but basically filed a lawsuit. We'll see what comes out of this. Does he have merit for this lawsuit? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah. So I have a couple interesting things here from the lawsuit that I'm reading. We're gonna skip right to when CM Punk left AEW. So Section 38 on this lawsuit says, on November 25th, 2024, Phil Brooks, aka CM Punk, left AEW to wrestle for the organization's main competitor, WWE. Section 39 says, Tony Khan was heartbroken by the departure of CM Punk, his idol that he adored in every way. Section 40 says, Khan was furious with Nemeth. Khan believes that Phil Brooks, aka CM Punk, left AEW because of Nemeth. Section 41.
These are the claims, by the way. That's
Yes.
what the lawsuit claims.
Yes.
Whether there's truth to
Yes.
this, we do not know at the moment.
Section 41, the defendants have embarked upon a campaign to blackball Nemeth from professional wrestling. Specifically, Tony Khan blames Nemeth for Phil Brooks leaving AEW and has used his significant resources to make sure that Nemeth can never again make a living in wrestling. And then Section 42, the last section, the conduct with each of the defendants was malicious in what defendants intended to cause injury to the plaintiff. Defendants acted willfully and with a conscious disregard for the rights of the plaintiff. So he's really
the plaintiff being Ryan Nemeth in this case.
Yes, he's
right?
really trying to push that he had a lot of emotional damage here.
Well, he's trying to grasp at straws, and I get it, and if you read the lawsuit, there's a lot of background to the lawsuit. Yeah. It seems like he's trying to paint a picture that's leading up to why he's in the situation he's in and why he believes AEW and CM Punk are at fault. CM Punk is now no longer an employee of AEW, so how is that going to work? Is he suing CM Punk civilly? Does WWE get involved now?
Let me put this to you in stupid terms, because I remember exactly how this all went down. So, around the time, I'd say a little bit after maybe the whole fight with the Young Bucks and CM Punk happened, Mr. Nick Nemeth, the Hollywood hunk Nick Nemeth, he decided to send a tweet out on Twitter that said, basically called CM Punk the softest man alive. So he sent that out on Twitter. I don't think he might not have mentioned CM Punk in it, but people kind of put two and two together. Okay, whatever. CM Punk took exception to that. And I believe they had a confrontation face to face, kind of like him and Jack Perry did, where CM Punk was like, hey, if you got something to say it to my face. And Nick Nemeth was kind of like, oh, I have nothing to say to you. And nothing physical happened. But what happened going forward from that was CM Punk pretty much Collision. AEW Collision was centered around CM Punk. He had a lot of creative control in that show. And what ended up happening was AEW tried to schedule Nick Nemeth for that show. And CM Punk, I guess, used his quote-unquote political power to be like, hey, I don't want this guy on my show. Because they have some beef over that internet shit, and it wasn't really resolved. And that's where it ends with, like, CM Punk. Yeah. There was never a physical confrontation. He never did anything to him. He just didn't want him on the show. And it was Tony Khan's discretion to give CM Punk control over that show. He didn't want, and to be clear, Nick Nemeth wasn't the only person he didn't want on that show. He also didn't want Christopher Daniels on that show. He also refused to let Jack Perry do the stunt where he went through the glass windshield, which resulted in Jack Perry and him having beef. CM Punk was doing what legally he was allowed to do because he was given control of that show and he was using that control.
Right. But whether or not that was morally correct or incorrect from CM Punk, when CM Punk was no longer an employee of AEW, it was then Tony Khan's responsibility, or I shouldn't say responsibility, but he had the ability to go and change that because that show was no longer centered around Punk. Yeah. So he could have at any time brought Ryan Nemeth back into the fold and created some storyline for him, but did not, right?
Yeah.
Now, do we know why? I don't know. Was that just because the roster was too deep and Tony Khan is just focused on the main characters and there was no runway to build something around the lesser known characters, right? That's possible, and that may have nothing to do with Punk. It has to do with the fact that, you know, if Tony Khan has to run it all himself, you know, trust the writers to get on the lesser known talent and incorporate them into storylines.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I feel for Ryan Nemeth a little bit in this case, but I don't know if I don't know if the lawsuit's truly valid.
I don't think it. If anything, maybe AEW will do like a settlement just to get him to kind of go away.
I mean, in all honesty, this kind of stuff actually happens in WWE, and it's nobody's fault. We see wrestlers think they deserve the airtime too, and maybe they do. But there's only so many hours for each TV program.
Absolutely.
There's only so many writers, and you know there's only so much runway to get everybody involved in a meaningful storyline, right?
Yep.
Keep in mind that the storylines you see now in the Triple H era are way more meaningful than they were 5 years ago under the prior era, where there was a lot of just get everybody on TV for the sake of getting on TV, right? That was great, but there was nothing meaningful about it, right? You were creating random battle royals with no storyline just to get them on television. Random comedic moments to get somebody on TV for 30 seconds, and nobody cared about them afterwards anyway, right?
Yep.
Now everything that's being incorporated to the programming is more meaningful. Does that mean other people have less time? Unfortunately, yes. There can't be room for everybody at the table, right? But that breeds competition.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Nick Nemeth kind of plateaued because you can only get so far being Dolph Ziggler's brother. He didn't really make a name for himself. He was always just Dolph Ziggler's brother. And honestly, I'll be completely honest, not trying to be a dick, AEW probably hired him with the thoughts of hopefully they will be able to bring in Dolph Ziggler at some point. And
that's what they thought. Maybe tag team.
That's probably what they
like
wanted.
that.
They wanted to hire his brother and be like, hey, look, can you get your brother over here? And didn't quite happen. Did not quite happen that way. Yeah, let's move on from Ryan Nemeth over to the AEW Dynamite recap here. I got 3 key points that I took from the show. First one being the opening segment with MJF and Hangman Adam Page face off. So I said the face-off didn't do too much for me. I said Hangman Page still seems like a schmuck pretending to be a wrestler. Also, why is he babyface all of a sudden?
You know what the sad thing is? That was my highlight from the show.
That the face-off?
Yeah,
kind of
that
say.
was
Yeah, because when you see my other takes, you'll notice that they don't really have too much more context to the show. My next take here was that Ricochet is still pretty bad at promos.
Yes, absolutely.
And I understand he's doing the Jericho thing. He's doing the Jericho thing where the fans are booing because they don't like him. They don't care. They want him to go away. And he's taking it as like, oh, well, if I'm a heel, that means I'm doing good because they're booing me. When in reality, they're booing because you're not good at your job. You're not entertaining. You're not, you're not making compelling television. But he's doing the Jericho trick where if I'm a heel, I'm doing my job because they're booing me. I'm just so good at it. So they're booing me more.
Yeah.
So he's doing the reverse psychology, and Tony Khan probably has like a freaking gimp mask on and is clapping with his hands tied behind his back. So there you go. And then the other key point is the Thunder Rosa afterbirth botch. And we have some video footage of that real quick. We're going to run that right now. Let me get that all set up here. Boom. Let me get the screen set, and let's take a look at this real quick here. Thunder Rosa Afterbirth. Let's get this full screen. And
next to the assist by Penelope Ford.
Let's watch what happens here. Here comes Thunder Rosa. She's coming here with a full head of steam. She's got the chair, getting in the ring, and what's going on?
Thunder Rosa, who
she ran to the ring so fast. Oh, she's going to swing. She's going to do something. No.
Wow. Thunder Rosa.
They're obviously communicating with each other to say, hey, what's going on? Is she getting held back? Like, why is she? She's trying to steal the chair?
This is wild.
Still nothing happening. Chris Stratlander is laying there. I don't know. Is she injured? Is she hurt? Is she watching? Is she laughing? I don't know. Now finally, Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford are leaving the ring.
Secure the victory for Megan Bayne, but once again,
and then she throws the chair at him. Okay.
Let's head to Renee Paquette.
All right, so that's the end of the clip there. Does that make sense to anybody? Does that make sense to you, Mr. Chunk?
It makes perfect sense because it's AEW.
Yeah. So obviously they didn't have a production meeting. They didn't have a production meeting for that segment. Yeah. Like I was trying to say when we talked about the production meeting situation, what I think was supposed to happen was Thunder Rosa was supposed to run down with the chair, and Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne were supposed to kind of fizzle out of the ring. Like maybe Thunder Rosa like does a swing, and then they just both get out of the ring. They're like, oh my God. And they kind of like back away. They didn't seem to do that. And two things could be the possibility for that. One thing, they just didn't know what the hell was going on. Another thing could be they did it on purpose because it's AEW. You're dealing with unprofessional wrestlers. I know that Thunder Rosa isn't exactly the most liked person that backstage. They could have just done that to kind of make her look weak and stupid and just fuck up the segment on purpose. Not something that's unusual in AEW.
True. You think Tony Khan's got the fucking balls to basically
no.
control the talent?
That's the thing. No, I don't know. I don't know what he's thinking. If that was if something like that happened on SmackDown, Triple H would probably be having a meeting with all of them. And I'm not saying like people would be punished, but I can promise you that would not happen again.
Yes, agreed.
That it just makes the whole production look stupid. And yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I don't like about AEW. This is the kind of stuff that happens week after week after week. And I particularly like Thunder Rosa. I think she's good. I think she would be a good talent on NXT. I think if she's properly, if she has the proper people training her and kind of walking her along, she could be great. That was not great. That was not great at all. I'm not too familiar with Megan Bayne. I know she's kind of new. Penelope Ford, I know people were trying to say she went to Japan or something and got a lot of training over there and that she like improved or whatever. Well, it just looked like a shit fest, and that's not the kind of wrestling that I like. I don't like seeing.
I agree.
Stuff. It looks unprofessional. Not even ECW back in the day did dumb stuff like that.
Well, I think we need to move on because we're gonna have bigger things to talk about that are way more important than.
Yeah. So is that you don't have any other takes from AEW at all?
Nothing worthwhile.
Nothing
not
worthwhile.
compared to what we're going to.
So there you go with AEW there. Let's move on. Staying on the AEW subject though, I have a little segment. It's going to be called the AEW's catalog of bad T-shirts. This is something that I've noticed for a while, and if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see me post all kinds of stuff, especially this "Kiss Me, I'm AEW" shirt. Pretty much, I made a post that said, "Here's a certified way that you can stay a virgin." So let me just open up this again here. I probably shouldn't have closed it, but I did. Let's open up the screen again, and let me show you a collection of some mighty fine AEW T-shirts that I've come across over time here. Boom. Why isn't it just opening? Here it is. Okay, hold on. I just got to move it. Move it. Right here. Okay. So here we are with the first shirt here. I believe this is Daddy Magic and is it the Butcher from the Butcher and the Blade tag
It looks
team?
like the Butcher. I was just going to say that.
So apparently they, I guess, were a tag team or something, and their shirt says Magic Meat on it. Would you be caught in public wearing a Magic Meat shirt, Mr. Chunk?
I don't know if I'd be caught in public with my Magic Meat itself.
Oh, God. So, yeah, the Magic Meat shirt. I don't know how I
You think it's magically delicious?
Maybe. I mean, he's got... It almost looks like...
It says who wants a taste at the bottom.
Oh, God. It kind of has the art style of... what's that show that people talk about sometimes? It has like a unique art style to it of
with a questionable liquid.
oh god. I forget the cartoon, but there's a cartoon that looks like that art style is based off of. But yeah, that's one shirt there. Let's go to some other ones. What's the next one we got? Right here? Okay. So this one is a Sammy Guevara shirt. Let's focus in here. This one is just like I don't like would you see yourself wearing a shirt like this? Okay, it's a little kid. It looks like he's in a diaper holding an action figure, and then it's a picture of Sammy Guevara with the AEW championship. Very, very like crappy art style. I guess I understand the purpose. It's like, oh, this is my dream to be a wrestler. Why a t-shirt? What is this?
I don't know.
What? And that's like, look at his face.
Yeah.
What the hell? What is wrong with his teeth?
I don't know. Little chiclets. Little chiclets.
I don't know how I feel about that one. Let's go to.
I posed in the mirror before, though. I've done that as a kid.
Yeah. Would you wear this shirt though? Fat ass, bad attitude.
Yeah.
This is an Anna J shirt. What's the peach there say? Is that just?
It's a Jericho Appreciation Society.
Oh God, it does. Oh Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
What if she has that tattoo on her ass for real? By the way, that looks like a 5X shirt in the picture. Probably somebody that would wear 5X would be wearing that shirt. But yeah, fat ass, bad attitude. And I guess they didn't want to say ass on the shirt, so they put the little peach there.
Yeah, I guess she probably has the attitude of a pit bull and an ass of a corgi.
Yeah. So Mr. Chonk, were you aware that AEW actually makes Drew McIntyre merchandise? Did you know that?
Okay, where is this going? Because clearly they're not making
hold on.
exactly Drew McIntyre, so there's obviously got to be a knockoff that looks very close.
Well, I mean, here's a picture of Hangman Adam Page, but if you look at the shirt,
wow,
oh God, hold on, no, why are we no? Okay, here, here. If you look at the shirt here,
yes, the resemblance is striking.
Yeah, that looks like Drew McIntyre. That doesn't look like that face does not look like this person.
I agree.
That looks like Drew McIntyre.
I agree.
Because the thing is, like Hangman Adam Page, he's kind of got the receding hairline going on.
The curly hair.
He's got curly hair. It looks like his beard's a little like gray and faded at the bottom there. But on the picture, that's Drew McIntyre. That's not Adam Page.
Maybe WWE needs to send a cease and desist to AEW.
That looks like Drew McIntyre.
Stop using their likeness.
It probably would have been funny if I was like, okay, Mr. Chunk, look at this new Drew McIntyre shirt, and then I just zoom out.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So apparently that's what Hangman Adam Page thinks that he looks like. And of course it's a casino theme because the AEW is obsessed with casinos for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Okay. Tony Storm. Chin, tits, and shoe. Would you wear that shirt?
I mean, you can't even clearly wear it outside. I mean,
chin, tits, and shoe. I can appreciate that they did put the apostrophe or the comma after each of the words there. Chin.
Well, it was a period. There's not even a comma.
Is it a period? I thought it was a comma.
It is a period,
okay.
Yeah.
So, period. Okay.
Yeah.
Timeless Tony Storm. What a great shirt. That font, too. It just looks great.
The font looks like it's out of PowerPoint. Somebody opened up Microsoft PowerPoint.
I really don't think they're trying here. And trust me, they get worse as we go here. We're not... I think we're not even halfway through. Okay? Here's the next shirt coming up. Who's that?
Is that supposed to be Ricochet?
Yes, that is the Ricochet, and he's doing his aha little.
What the hell?
Yeah, that is Ricochet. That is Ricochet. Look at them. Look at that cute
It's
man.
awful.
Yeah, I bet you Samantha Irving will wear that.
Jesus.
I bet you his wife will wear that one.
Who is designing these shirts?
Apparently, they have a team of people that do shirt designs because I remember they were bragging on Twitter about it. And
Okay.
yeah, this is what their design team. Here's one of the best designs that they have. I have to admit, this one does look pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Their referee has a shirt. God. There you go. That's your next Christmas present. That's your next Christmas present, dude.
Jesus.
I said two. You should just hang that picture up in your bathroom. I said number 2. That would make me want to take a shit, honestly. And here's a good piece of John Moxley merchandise. Here's the Death Riders merchandise shirt. This is a top seller. AEW wants $30. $30 for this shirt here. Yeah.
Jesus
there is
Christ.
there is a little logo property of the Death Riders at the bottom.
Oh my god.
But yeah, $30. $30 for that high quality cotton.
Oh
And
my God.
here we go with St. Patrick's Day themed Kiss Me, I'm All Elite. This is the one that I said, if you want to be a virgin on St. Patrick's Day, here's your chance. Just wear that shirt. And then we have Okada. Okada has a shirt. It says "Shut up, bitches," and he's like with a car and a title belt. That looks real snazzy,
God.
right?
Yeah, that is.
That looks pretty snazzy. Let's pick that one up. And here's also a classic. Nick Wayne's mom. Nick Wayne's mom has her own shirt, folks, and it says Nick Wayne's mom in a picture of her fat ass next to a looks like a Mustang or Lamborghini or something.
Are we allowed to cue up that Fountain to Wayne song?
Nick Wayne's
Stacy's mom.
got
it going on.
Said she doesn't because she's got a fat ass and she's old. Yeah, so somehow a wrestler's mom has a t-shirt, and yeah, those are definitely hair extensions. I'm sorry, Nick Wayne's mom. And then the classic. This is probably the first bad AEW t-shirt I can remember. Britt Baker. It looks like a mugshot and pretty much just her with a black eye. That is a t-shirt. That was a t-shirt sold on the AEW shop. Not sure how many people bought it, but yeah.
Oh,
so
God.
she got a black eye during a match, and they made a t-shirt out of it. Isn't that wonderful? So that's going to end our segment of the worst AEW merchandise. We should have done this kind of like a QVC Home Shopping Network thing.
For the low price.
Yeah, for the low price of absolutely nothing, you can get Britt Baker with a black eye on a t-shirt and walk around Walmart wearing that.
But wait, if you do it in 4 installments, we'll
you
waive
do it in
the
4
shipping and
installments,
handling.
you get the Drew McIntyre shirt. All right, let's move on from this. AEW, that's enough AEW talk for today. Boom. Let's move on to the SmackDown recap. Let's start talking about this real quick. So, a couple key points from SmackDown that I took. Well, 2 key points, and then we got a major point from SmackDown. So, Jimmy Uso beating Drew McIntyre was a choice. I don't see what they're going with there. It seems like they're just giving Drew McIntyre loss after loss after loss. I think this might have been because of his little temper tantrum about LA Knight that happened at the Royal Rumble. But Jimmy Uso beat Drew McIntyre on SmackDown. Kind of like a small package or whatever, but it did happen. Not sure how I feel about that, to be honest with you.
I have to agree, and look, it's great to give Jimmy Uso a win, but basically, I'm sorry, Jimmy, you're Marty Jannetty.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it.
I think little Jimmy is more popular than Jimmy Uso, honestly.
Yeah, you could try with the whole big Jim attitude, but it's...
He'd probably get more over if he was called Slim Jim, honestly. I think there could be a whole tie-in there. Jimmy Uso with Slim Jims.
I think, in all honesty, he can't compete with the Yeet movement of his brother, and Jimmy should just go turn heel. I think he's better off
Well, they
as a
tried
bad
that.
character.
They tried that.
Yeah, but they tried that when he feuded with his brother.
Yeah.
Now that he's separate from his brother, he could be his own heel persona on SmackDown and create more separation from his brother.
True.
That's what they should do. They're trying to have him like be in you know the realm of his brother with not being in the realm of his brother, like riding the coattails.
Yeah.
And it's not really working. I don't think the fans are booing him, but I don't think they're really cheering
there's
him
fans
either.
into him, but it's like I think they're into him because it's Jay's brother. You know?
Yeah, they're doing that, and then they're doing that just because that's the default thing you do when you don't want Drew to win the match.
Yep.
You cheer slightly for whoever.
Yeah, some of
isn't
it does
Drew.
get. You got to give credit to Drew because it does take a good heel to get fans behind whoever he's facing.
Yeah.
Another point that I have, I said, I'm getting interested in the SmackDown Tag Division. They're doing something right because I normally dislike tag wrestling. It's kind of been like one of the highlights for me week after week lately on SmackDown is where's the tag division going? What are they planning on doing here? They got so many different tag teams in the mix. They got the Yes Boys, they got Motor City Machine Guns, they got DIY. Don't necessarily like DIY, but it is kind of interesting that they do have like some turmoil going on with the tag team division. And then they got the Street Profits who are kind of flourishing on their own a little bit.
I think that injected some life into the tag team division.
I think it's definitely gotten interesting. It's much more revamped than the Raw tag division.
Yes, agreed.
It's something I've looked forward to every week to see what the next plot of that story is going to be. So that's always a good thing.
It sounds like it's going to be a multi-team match probably at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That's probably what they're building to. I would love to see it as a ladder match or some form of a... I mean, it's automatically going to be no DQ when it's a multi-team match, but it'd be nice to put it into a ladder match or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Just to add a little more gravitas to it, but we'll see.
Definitely.
Doesn't need to have it, but it'd be interesting with it.
Yeah. And that was all my takes from SmackDown. Next week we're probably going to talk about... Okay, never mind. I'm just joking. Obviously, there was a big.
Well, before we get into the
SmackDown, okay.
Before we get into that, quick little takeaways. Yep. I love me some R-Truth.
Yes.
I really think that he is a national monument in WWE, in my opinion.
Yeah, his wrestling career might be kind of on its end, but he offers some comedic segments. He's kind of like Santino now.
Yes.
Santino.
And they find an interesting way every week to bring something to the table with him. The fake pin, right? He counts when there's nobody on top of the guy on Friday. And he thought Miz was his partner. They go back to having Awesome Truth as a tag team. That brought something nice. Because, look, I mean, one thing I do miss from the Vince era, he did inject a little comedy. Maybe he did it a little too much. Yeah. And it took away from the seriousness of it.
Vince tried to make WWE like a variety show. He wanted something for
like a
everybody.
Circus, almost. Yes.
Yeah, he wanted something for kids. He wanted something for adults. He wanted something for everybody.
But maybe there was a little too much comedy for my taste.
Yeah,
the last
there was always a little too much.
7 to 10 years.
Too little of something.
And I know in the new era, it felt like there hasn't been any at all. And so I'm glad to see just a little bit. I don't want too much. But the R-Truth is the right amount. And that's all they need.
Yep.
The only other little thing is I'm tired of seeing Candice LeRae. I'm sorry. They're trying to recreate the magic of Tiffany Stratton being Nia Jax's protege, and you know that the same plot again, right?
Yeah.
When will Candice LeRae turn on Nia Jax?
Absolutely.
Be careful, Candice LeRae. Nia Jax might accidentally stomp on you.
Yeah.
Without
Dude,
looking.
if she backs up in the wrong time, like she like bulldoze over. Jesus. Jesus Christ. I'll be honest, I am looking forward to the Trish Stratus, Tiffany Stratton, Nia Jax, Candice LeRae tag match. I always like Trish Stratus. I think she is definitely one of the best divas of all time. So I'm interested to see her. I understand it's Toronto, so she wants to perform in front of her hometown crowd. I'm cool with
And I'm
that.
guessing they're doing a tag match just to keep Tiffany Stratton relevant until WrestleMania.
Keep her occupied, and then I'm sure it's full steam ahead with the WrestleMania promos and everything with Charlotte. So I'm all on board with that. Let's get into the big news on SmackDown. So pretty much late the night before, social media had posts saying that The Rock, well, no, the social media posts saying that the final boss would be on SmackDown.
Final Plus.
Yeah,
Yes.
so they did not. I made that a point to post on Twitter that they did not say The Rock was going to be there. They said the final boss, and we did. We did get the final boss on SmackDown.
Some hints of The Rock. He
yeah.
basically teetered.
Well, that's always how the
Between,
final
like,
boss was.
Pandering to the crowd and giving them their props and doing the same with Cody, and then he went final boss mode.
Yeah,
at the flip
that's kind of
switch.
what he always was doing until the end
Yeah.
of last year. Like, he kind of was teetering, and then like the last couple weeks before WrestleMania, he was just full on final boss.
Yeah.
Pretty much after he attacked Cody Rhodes in the parking
Yeah.
lot, he was just final
Yeah.
boss the entire time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a progression. Like, he doesn't get into the angry full heel Rock right away, but he will eventually get there. So what ended up happening here was The Rock made it a point that he wanted to have a conversation with Cody Rhodes, and they ended up having a conversation in the ring. They had a nice long 20 minutes or plus segment, and people seemed pretty confused about what was happening there with the Rock segment. With Cody
I
Rhodes.
wasn't. I mean, the confusion. Maybe people who are confused are that they don't know exactly what the end game is.
Yeah,
and that's good because you don't know how it's going to end, right? But I kind of do know the trajectory overall with this. At least I feel like I do.
The problem here is wrestling fans today. They want instant gratification. They wanted that segment to be The Rock challenging Cody Rhodes to a title match.
No,
And
I don't even know if that's going to happen at all.
Yeah. So, but that's what current modern fans wanted. They wanted a definitive match, whatever set up. What people fail to forget is that WWE, they are responsible for booking episodic TV shows.
Yes.
So what happened on SmackDown is exactly what you should have probably thought was going to happen, where the segment leaded to them promoting a confrontation on the next show, which in this case is going to be Elimination Chamber, where Cody Rhodes has to... so pretty much this segment on SmackDown, before we get into what the segment leaded to, was The Rock called Cody Rhodes to the ring, basically gave him a whole spiel at how their families are connected, and that The Rock sees Cody Rhodes as a good champion, but he's not quite on The Rock's level, and The Rock wants to get Cody Rhodes on that level and above.
And he made it very clear, and this is very telling, and I know that fans don't want to hear this, but you have to live in reality. And I took some additional things away from this segment. He made it very clear that the title is not important here.
Yes.
And it doesn't need to be important. That's the thing.
Well, let's clarify that
just because The Rock's involved.
From what The Rock is saying, it's not important here, but things could always change. We don't know where the storyline is going yet. This could be a ploy because The Rock did in the past show interest in that belt.
That is possibly true, but I took away from this the fact that WWE is trying to be intelligent. They're hedging their bets. They don't know The Rock's schedule, but they want to create a compelling storyline without locking The Rock into something that he might have to back out of and not be able to commit to.
Well,
the worst thing in the world is say there's going to be a title match. It's going to be then The Rock's schedule gets packed, and then they have to rewrite the script and can't do it.
Well,
they've created some tension, and it's open wide, in my opinion.
Yeah. Something I'm going to say is if they have The Rock doing this segment, the WWE knows what the schedule is now. They know what The Rock's going to be able to do. They know what they're doing going forward because they would not have done this segment if they didn't think The Rock could do X, Y, and Z. What X, Y, and Z might be, we don't know yet.
And I actually don't think, and it's going to be a bold prediction, I don't think this completely culminates at WrestleMania. I think this goes beyond WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I think this is a long-term plan. I think there's a long-term plan. I think you're going to hit a crescendo at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. There'll be I got to be careful how I use my words. There'll be a pivot at WrestleMania. This is my bold prediction, setting up for the remainder of the storyline.
Yeah.
Post WrestleMania, but I'll let you continue because I want to. I'll save it to the end for my bold prediction. Very bold.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was just going over the segment. So The Rock sees a lot in Cody Rhodes, but he sees that The Rock is higher. He wants to bring Cody Rhodes to The Rock's level and above. But The Rock, his wording was that he wants Cody Rhodes' soul. What that means is to be determined, because that's pretty much where the segment ended. And The Rock gave Cody Rhodes a ultimatum, and he wants his decision at Elimination Chamber on Saturday. So that's where we're at with that. We got a cliffhanger heading into Saturday. I don't know if The Rock will be involved on Friday's SmackDown, maybe. But we know at Saturday there is going to be some sort of segment with The Rock and Cody Rhodes. And we're going to have to see if Cody accepts Rock's, I don't even know what you want to call it.
Temptation. It's a temptation.
Yeah,
and I don't think he will at first.
Yeah.
So, you ready for my bold prediction?
Go for it.
Very bold.
Go for it.
So, I got to preface this, though, because I notice patterns in WWE, and I don't know how rigid these patterns are.
Mm-hmm.
But I notice when it comes to titles of the same worth, the WWE title, right, and the World Heavyweight title, right?
Mm-hmm.
WWE tries to balance the scales, and they don't want two heel champions. Sometimes you'll have two face champions, but that's not a long-term thing. Yeah. Usually they balance it out, and one heel, one face. Same for the IC in the US, they're at the same level. One heel, one face on either show, right?
Yep.
So I have a feeling that what they're building towards is, and I'm gonna venture off the beaten path just for a minute here, that Jey Uso's probably going to win his belt at WrestleMania. He's going to have his final moment, right? His big WrestleMania moment he's been building towards for a long time. So he's a face. I don't see him making a heel turn anytime immediately. The Yeet movement is too strong, at least for the remainder of this year.
Yep.
So now that leaves you with two face champions, right? And I never typically see in WWE history when they've had two main belts have two face champions for an extended period of time, months upon months.
Yeah.
Right? And my bold prediction now is now you need Cody to make a heel turn. And I think he's ripe for it because his championship reign, while he's been able to perform physically in the ring, I think has been one-dimensional. Maybe so Kevin Owens brought out a little bit of the darker side.
Are you implying that Cody will accept The Rock's offer at some point? Maybe not Saturday.
Begrudgingly, not with open arms, maybe. I think it's a gradual. And the reason I say this is I think the Kevin Owens feud with Cody brought out a slightly darker side in Cody Rhodes that WWE hasn't really said. And I think we're going to start to see that unravel a little bit more. And I think Elimination Chamber is it's a classic storyline. It works. Cody's gonna turn it down. No, I'm the good guy. I'm for the people. I don't succumb to Hollywood or corporate pressure or any of that bullshit. Right? Won't do it. Right? Then what comes around is build up to WrestleMania. Whoever his match is, John Cena, whoever it is. Right? Whatever story they build there, maybe Cody thinks he can't beat him. Right? Maybe Cody thinks he's not enough, not worthy enough. Right? Or maybe Cody just straight up loses at WrestleMania, and he doesn't know what to do with himself, that he doesn't have the title anymore, right?
Could happen, yeah.
And maybe it's possible he either turns at WrestleMania, or within a month or so after. But they plant the seeds, right? The storyline progresses. You don't just stop it, but there's telltale signs that his character's undergoing a change. And we've seen him be a heel before. I don't think it's completely unheard of. And I think that adds dimension to his character. Yeah. You see Roman Reigns, they want Roman Reigns back as a face because they're tired of the new blood. They're tired of Solo Sikoa.
Yep.
So I can't see Roman Reigns coming back in the fold and him doing about face all over again and being heel. Not at least this year. I think for the remainder of this year, Roman Reigns is the face when he comes back. And I'm guessing he's probably not even coming back full time. He's going to be doing some quasi part-time, not as part-time as The Rock, but not as full-time as Cody.
Yeah.
to give everybody the other talent, airtime, which is the right move. So I know I'm being long-winded, but that's my bold prediction.
Yeah. So the fans on the internet seem to think that this is going to lead to Cody not accepting The Rock's offer and somehow CM Punk accepting The Rock's offer. And
I heard something about that.
Getting himself involved with Cody. I can't see that happening. I am still 100% on the bandwagon that it's going to be Cody Rhodes versus John Cena at WrestleMania. Main event of one of the nights, either night 1 or night 2. What I could see happening is they have the match. Somehow The Rock is an enforcer in that match, Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. Maybe even a special guest referee. And maybe we see John Cena take The Rock's offer. And this is how we get the heel John Cena. Maybe the John Cena takes The Rock's offer because he wants to be Hollywood like The Rock. He wants to get on that level.
I would buy into that under one stipulation.
What's that?
They have to have a third match. The tiebreaker match. They had 2.
Between The Rock and Cena?
Yes.
Maybe. That would be
if they're gonna do
that'd be a hard pull. Because
well,
The Rock just doesn't do matches that often.
But then what's the point then? What's the point of John Cena accepting the deal if there isn't a way of the whole point of a storyline like this, let me be very clear. The whole point of a storyline like this is long term. A year from now, let's say it's Cody Rhodes accepts his offer eventually. I don't expect him to accept it at first, but he begrudgingly does it because it's only Cody. Once you lose the title, the only way Cody feels relevant is accepting The Rock's offer. He does it out of necessity. Yeah. But eventually, right, The Rock starts asking Cody to do things that are morally questionable, right? Yeah. And eventually, Cody gets sick of it, and he turns on The Rock, and then they have something, whether it's a match or Rock has a representative to fight on. However they want to do that, doesn't really matter. But that's the culmination of it, right? And then Cody does an about-face turn, but it's a better face turn than what he had originally because the fans buy into it. Yeah. The fans only bought into his face turn now because they hated Roman so much.
Yeah. So I'll be honest.
They want you to buy into a face turn because they buy into it.
Yeah. I'll be honest, like, I can't make a full prediction yet until next Saturday. When I see what happens on Saturday.
Agreed. I could be totally wrong.
Then I'll probably formulate a better prediction. I could see it going either way. Because just if somehow John Cena, took The Rock up on the offer, I don't necessarily think they have to have a match. I think that Cena would eventually, obviously, if Cena would turn heel and join with The Rock, obviously there would have to eventually be within a 1-year period. I don't think Cena would retire as a heel. He would retire as babyface. So obviously there would be some way to turn him back. There'd be some sort of conflict. I don't think it necessarily would have to turn into a match. Maybe Cena just FUs The Rock through a table or something.
Yeah, there has to be confrontation. Yeah. There has to be a confrontation.
Some sort of physical confrontation where Cena's had enough of whatever is going on and
agreed,
wins the fans over again.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
But it's hard for me to kind of formulate a real prediction until we see what happens on Saturday. See where they're going with it. When Saturday comes, I don't see Cody accepting. I don't see it. I'm
not suggesting Saturday.
Yeah.
But they're putting so much energy in The Rock cutting this promo targeted to Cody. Yeah. I don't see it going to anyone else. I see Cody eventually feeling like he has no choice but to join The Rock, but kind of against his own will. Yeah. I'm not saying he's going to do it with open arms. I'm not suggesting that at all.
That's what's great about this storyline.
In or around WrestleMania is when is when that part of the storyline will culminate. Yeah. You'll see a character change. That's my bold prediction. That'll bring you to the remainder of the year. And eventually Cody will have enough, just like you said with John Cena, if he accepts it. Whoever it is, they'll have enough eventually, and there'll be the confrontation with The Rock to basically come full circle. Yep. That's how these storylines play out. They don't happen over 2 months or 2 weeks. Sorry, public, that you want that kind of gratification, but when you watch regular TV, it takes an entire season, unless you're watching these Netflix shows that are 3 episodes, a traditional serialized, 16, 20, 24 episode season. That's how long it takes to complete the arc.
So let's do some quick Elimination Chamber predictions. Women's Elimination Chamber match. Who do you see winning on that?
Oh crap! I forgot who's in that. It's not Roxanne Perez.
Yeah, Roxanne Perez is in it. Isn't Naomi and Bianca in it?
Yes.
They're both.
Oh, we didn't touch upon that. I'm going to sidetrack for 30 seconds.
Okay.
If you just give me just 30 seconds. I got news for you, public. It is not Liv and Raquel that put Jade Cargill out of action.
I think there's a lot of people that already they're already assuming it's not them.
Yeah, sorry WWE.
They're trying to swerve us, but
you tried to swerve, and you've done swerves better before WWE.
Yeah.
But this one,
my question is,
I smell this a mile away.
My question is it both of them or was it one of them? Is it
both of them? Would be
is it
weird.
Naomi and Bianca, or was it Bianca, or was it Naomi?
Both would be kind of weird, in my opinion.
In my opinion, the best
for so long.
The best option would be Naomi, and then Bianca. Like,
yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where it goes because naturally, if it turns out to be Naomi, naturally you would think, okay, well, it's going to be Naomi versus Jade. But then where does that leave Bianca Belair?
Yeah.
So obviously, I think what eventually is going to happen, Liv and Raquel are going to take those titles from Bianca.
Oh yeah,
and Naomi.
They're the best women's tag team right now.
Probably because of Jade Cargill, I would assume. But yeah, the question is who was responsible for it. We know that when apparently it happened, Bianca was in a match. Did she know it was going to happen? Who knows? I firmly believe it's Naomi that did it. But my whole question is, where does the booking go from there? Like who?
Agreed.
Well, because Bianca obviously I feel needs to be in the match.
Yes.
So maybe that could be a situation where she's a referee or something. Like, could you imagine?
Or Bianca feels like she has to take sides.
Yeah, Jade Cargill versus Naomi with Bianca as the referee. Yeah. Although, that doesn't sound like a WrestleMania match, though, because you want Bianca in a match, not a referee.
Yeah. A 3-way? Maybe because she's so torn?
Yeah, but...
That's
something we're going to have to see where that leads to.
We'll address.
It's giving me a headache even thinking about where that could possibly go. Okay, Women's Elimination Chamber. Who do you see winning that?
So wait, who were the other Bailey's in it, right?
Yes, Bailey, Roxanne Perez, Bianca, Naomi.
Right.
I can get.
I can't remember now.
Let's get a.
I'm trying to think who else won a slot. Not Liv Morgan. Wait, did Liv Morgan? Yeah, no, Liv Morgan and Raquel both. Or am I wrong?
Right now, we are going to get the match card here. Or not. What the hell? They didn't tell me anything. They're just like, oh, the Elimination Chamber features John Cena. What? Tell me some information here. All right. Okay, so this picture shows
Roxanne, so Liv Morgan, Alexa
Bliss. Bliss, Liv Morgan.
Okay. Well, then I already have my answer. I already have my answer, and I think it's Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, she's the only one that I don't want to see. I mean, maybe they could go with Raquel versus Bailey. But I think Bailey's stale. Bailey is staley.
Yes.
I know that she's
had her
fans,
time,
but it's
she's had her time.
She's not.
She wasn't.
They can't do the four horsewomen bullshit anymore because half of them don't even work for the company.
And she was in the main event scene last year.
And she's was the lowest tier of those four.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be Alexa Bliss or Bailey, and I hope it's Alexa Bliss. Give us something a little different.
Yeah.
But then that makes you wonder, what will Bailey do at WrestleMania? Because they can't have WrestleMania without Bailey on the card.
I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
I want it to be Alexa Bliss, but I have a feeling it might be Bailey, and they'd be like, "Woohoo! First time ever matchup" or something, and be like, "Bailey's a 6-time champion. She's a legend, a Hall of Famer," or something. They might try to go that route.
Yeah.
Not my thing. So you're picking Alexa Bliss. I'm going to pick Bailey. I'm just going to go with not what my heart wants, but I'm going to go with Bailey just logically. And then we also have
The men's elimination chamber.
So we got John Cena, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre's in there, right? No, he is. He's not. Damian Priest.
Yes. No, Drew.
Didn't Damian Priest win that match?
No, he won a different match. No, he won a different one. It's Damian Priest, Seth Rollins. It's Damian Priest, Seth Rollins, Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, John Cena.
I mean, regardless, I think I think John Cena's winning that.
Okay, so I have to take a different one. I have to just be that guy who doesn't assume that everybody else thinks.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me thinks CM Punk.
John Cena.
No.
John Cena.
No.
John Cena.
CM Punk.
You think CM Punk? Okay.
CM
so
Punk.
you think it's going to be CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania?
Yes. Yep. And maybe that. I mean,
I'm not saying it's not out of the
favor.
I'm not saying that's out of the realm of possibility. It's there. There's definitely ways that could happen. There's definitely storyline ways that could happen.
It's not Seth Rollins. No. Not that he doesn't deserve it.
No, it's him and Roman. That's him and Roman at WrestleMania.
Yeah. I don't think it's that.
It just doesn't make sense.
Damian Priest, as much as I'd want him to do it, he was involved in the main events, the main title scene.
Popcorn fart right there. Yeah, I mean, if anything, like maybe him and Drew can have something, but
and then Logan Paul, he's too much of a part timer. Like I don't.
Yeah, he'll have some good moments, but he's not going to win the damn thing.
Yeah.
I honestly, I would like to see Logan Paul versus CM Punk at WrestleMania. I would like to see that.
Yeah.
I want to see the promos. I want to see what they could come up with.
Could be next year,
Maybe.
Could be next year's WrestleMania.
Maybe. So.
Then you have Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn in the unsanctioned match.
Yeah.
I have bad news. I think there's going to be no winner. I don't think there's going to be a clear winner.
Well, unsanctioned there has to be. They can't just they can't just call it off. It might not be a pinfall. It might just be like somebody gets incapacitated or something.
I think if they're going to continue the storyline into WrestleMania, which sounds like they will, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whether they add Randy Orton or somebody else to the mix, I don't think this is a blow-off feud. I do think that what'll happen is they'll both get incapacitated together. Some big finish move.
Maybe.
Right? They both can't pin. They both can't get up. They call the ambulance, all that fun shit, right? And basically, no winner.
Okay.
Right? They're off of TV for 2 weeks to sell that they're both beat up, and then they reignite it. Maybe Randy Orton's involved in this one as well. There's a lot of different directions, but I don't see a winner yet. I see a lot of brutality.
Yeah.
A lot of brutality. It's going to be, a match that's going to have a lot of eyeballs. Like people are going to be glued to it.
Yeah.
Because Kevin Owens can bring it and Sami Zayn can bring it, but I don't think that there'll be a pin or submission. I just think that they'll both beat so much crap out of each other they can't stand, and maybe this will lead to like a last man standing at WrestleMania or Hell in a something where it's not a traditional pinning match at WrestleMania.
I see Kevin Owens winning. I see he has a lot of momentum right now. I don't see any possibility.
If he wins at Elimination Chamber,
cleanly. Yep.
If he wins at Elimination Chamber, does Sami Zayn get a win back at WrestleMania, or no? Or too early?
Depends on where the storyline goes.
Assuming they have a rematch
in WWE Disney World, yes, I would assume he would get a win at WrestleMania. Kevin Owens is on a hot streak right now, and I think they can't have him take another loss at the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe at WrestleMania, maybe they could figure it out a way to get him to take a loss and have it make sense. Yeah. Right now, he needs to win over Sami Zayn.
See, I feel like Sami Zayn needs a win too. That's why I feel like
He does, but I think
both,
Kevin needs it more.
they both can't win and they both can't
Yeah,
lose.
I think Kevin needs it more.
WWE has booked themselves into a corner, but not necessarily in a bad way. It's a great match. It's a great rivalry. We have seen it before, so they don't need to spend a lot of time retelling the story. But it is a little cumbersome. They put themselves in a pickle.
Yep, and
because both need the momentum, both can't suffer completely getting squashed as a result of this feud.
yeah.
And then the tag team match is the last one. I think that's probably the most predictable.
What's
the
tag
Tiffany
team
Strat.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Stratton
how did I
and-
almost forget
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
I definitely see Tiffy and Trish winning that one.
Yeah. I can't see Trish taking the loss in her hometown.
No. What I want to see, and we haven't seen it yet, I want to see if Tiffany Stratton can do that cartwheel into an Alabama slam on Nia Jax. I want to see if she can do it. Nia is kind of big. She's like built like a bowling ball, but I think Tiffany might be strong enough to do it. I'd like to see her try. I want to see that happen. She did it to Bailey. She does it in her normal matches, but we haven't seen her do it to Nia. I think that would be a cool like visual feat of strength to see her do that to Nia Jax.
I really want to see her do the that moonsault off of like a cage.
She did it in NXT. She did it in NXT before.
Okay.
If you ever have the time, go watch some of her NXT stuff. She does some crazy stuff. She had like a street fight with Becky Lynch at one point in NXT. Like, there's some Tiffany Stratton stuff that you haven't seen on the main roster that she did in NXT. That's pretty crazy. She did some cool matches. Yeah, so that's going to end the show for this week. Next week, we're going to obviously have the rundown of what happened at Elimination Chamber.
The rundown? You mean Walking Tall?
I mean the pacifier, dude. The Diesel. Yeah, we're going to have a recap of everything that happened at Elimination Chamber. And we're also going to have a recap of all of the happenings of that current week in wrestling. Thank you guys so much for coming in and hanging out. Thank you. Thank you, Missy Kaboom, Hippo in the house, Nix Boom, Mr. Glass, and then we had some TikTok people. We had Izzy Jean and Missy Girl Zero sending gifts over on TikTok. Thank you so much. We had 136 viewers over on TikTok. That's impressive in my eyes. But yeah, we had some fun tonight, and next week we will be back at 7 p.m. on Sunday. Guys, one thing I do want to mention, I don't think I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, we are doing a WWE 2K25 giveaway for the console of your choice, console or PC. It's going to be a digital code for the game. All you have to do is go onto my Twitter and look at that pin post. All you really have to do is follow us on YouTube, follow me on Twitter, retweet the post, and tag a friend, and you will be into the contest for that. We will be giving that away on March 14th, the day the game comes out. Only thing that I have to say about that is please make sure that your Twitter account accepts messages so that I can send you a message if you are the winner. But yeah, tell your friends about that. Get everybody involved. Let's get us. My goal is I want this YouTube channel to get to 100 followers by WrestleMania. By mid-April, I want to be at 100 followers. We are well on the way there. We're over halfway there. I fully believe that we can get there. But until then, thank you guys so much for hanging out. I'm going to create those
fake accounts, and then...
Yeah, and all of a sudden we're going to see Mr. Chonk 1, Mr. Chonk 2, Bill Gates 2024. We're going to have a bunch of fake accounts coming up and following.
Yeah.
We're not really going to do that.
Yeah, George Bush 2003.
Yeah,
exactly.
You never know. You never know. We might be going back in time with that one. Anyways, guys, everybody, thank you again for hanging out, and we will see you next week. See you later, guys.